Yeah, side room, little production room.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started, and I'll just tell everyone. I'll just let them in as they come in. So, yeah, tell us your story as it relates to Kansas City, how the heck you ended up in Kansas City, how you went back to LA, please.
Yeah, I mean, so I ended up in Kansas City. I guess my name is Dominique, and yeah, I kind of like Kansas City. My adult life uh was born and bred in Kansas City, you know what I mean? So came from Los Angeles as a young kid, and then ended up going back to from Los Angeles to Kansas City when I was little, then went back to Los Angeles, then back to Kansas City as a teenager, and then now I'm back in LA as a I don't know what they call, I just turned 30, so I don't know what they call that, like a 30 ager. You know what I mean? So yeah, but like the story's kind of crazy. Like I moved to like when I stayed for like years to Liberty, Missouri, and ended up going through the junior high, middle school, high school there, and then went to UMKC in Kansas City. And I was around Kansas City for a while, you know, playing gigs and hanging out and doing the whole music scene. And that would have been 2008, you know. Um, and then just kind of came back to LA in the last, really like permanently, like last 2 years. But I've been kind of coming back and forth for like the last 5 years or so. But just got a house and kind of made it permanent not that long ago. So yeah, that's kind of abbreviated story of me.
Wow, that's complicated. So were you working
Yeah,
at the UMKC Conservatory? Is that what you were doing?
I was. Yeah. So yeah, my whole music journey, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, is complicated. So yeah, I was over at the conservatory. A lot of people know I played the bass, so I play like jazz bass. But like once I first started, I was like an undecided major, so I wasn't doing music or nothing. But I ended up doing music education. So my years at UMKC, uh, I was in all the jazz programs, and like it was just funny. Like everybody assumed that I was a jazz major, but I never was. So like, you know, I've probably taken, I don't know, maybe three bass lessons, like three jazz bass lessons in my life or something, maybe. Yeah, so I was never a jazz. I was like always a music education major. I was there with Joe Parisi, and yeah, I didn't end up finishing my degree. Like some other opportunities ended up coming, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But you know, one day maybe. I don't have that much left on it, so yeah, I was over there. But yeah, I did like all the jazz stuff though. I was in the big band with Bobby and the combos with Dan Thomas. He was there at that time. Um, and it was just like the time I feel like when everybody was at UMKC, like that a lot of when the jazz scene was kind of really on the up and ups at UMKC, a lot of the names that people recognize or whatever you want to call it of like younger kids that were at UMKC was pretty much when I was there. So it was a dope time to be around it, you know, at UMKC.
There was a weird time where people were moving here instead of leaving here. It was a brief 5 or 6
Yeah,
months.
exactly. Yeah. That was interesting. Yeah, I was around for that time. And it was, you know, a lot of young talent, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like a little bit younger than everybody else, but it was just, you know, everybody was there. Like Ben Lightford, Herman Mahari, Ryan Lee, Steve Lambert, Ryan Highline, Eddie Moore. I mean, it's like hard to even name. Like pretty much any like jazz people that are like under the age of 35 were all there going to school actively or full time at the same time. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So it was kind of like an interesting thing, and it was good for me because, like I said, I was always the dude that, you know, I could play the music. It's just kind of like I don't know. I never studied it, or you know, it wasn't that deep for me. But like, it was like I learned a lot from being around people that even at a young age, at like 18 and 19, were like ultra passionate about jazz music. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't have learned a lot of the stuff that I did learn if I wasn't around that environment, because I was in some whole like other music, But I feel like it was good too, because I've kind of brought the non-jazz element to that to a lot of people. You know what I mean? So that's always been my thing.
Yeah, you were one of the top call bass players in town for a long time. So yeah, I just assumed you were heading with Bobby and working, as a bass student. But like I remember I hired you for a Cuban thing, and man, you had the Cuban feel down pat. I mean, how did that happen?
That's a good question. I mean, I never. I think I remember you called me and then you were like, "Yo, this is what we're playing," and then I just kind of listened to it, and like it's funny because like with gigs, if it's something that I wasn't like don't really feel, I'll be like try to not do it. But I love that. I love the feel of the music. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think I always approach music kind of from a producer standpoint, where it's like, okay, the bass is doing that, and then the piano's doing this, and they're doing those two things specifically for this reason, to like create this feeling. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's just I try to approach the bass like that. It's just I can't really tell. Like I'm trying to like teach. I'm the most horrible bass teacher that there is, because it's just like I don't know. I'm just like, you know, sometimes you don't need to. Maybe you don't need to practice. You just need to like listen and learn how music works together, like as opposed to like sitting and like hashing out the instrument. You have to learn your instrument, but like, there's a lot of different ways to get to the same point. So I think I just like the music. Honestly, I think it was just I love the music and try to capture the feel and just make it. I'm sure I was probably not playing it super authentic. I was doing my vibe on it, but it is what it is.
You're telling me that was your Cuban music gig?
What'd you say?
Was your first Cuban music gig?
Uh, Traditional, I would say, yeah. I played with Miguel. That was my first gig actually in Kansas City, like that was paying money. Was with Miguel De Leon.
We always start with, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like everybody in the like everybody's first gig was, and that I never even heard I mean, like, I've heard like like Tex-Mex music. That's like kind of big in California, but like I've never even heard like a salsa song. You know what I'm saying? It was like kind of the same thing. He was like, "Yo, he just, if anybody knows Miguel, it's just like boom, like full out." It's like, okay, cool. I got a young dude that doesn't have no gigs and he plays bass. All right, cool. Like learn this. You know what I mean? And he gave me the sheet music, so I was like, dang, okay, this is a little bit different way to play the bass. You know what I'm saying? It's not like on the one kind of. So
Mhm.
there was like sheet music, and I was like looking at the music, and I was like, yo, this sheet music is super confusing
Hmm.
for what it is. It's like not that the sheet music it was just like it wasn't that deep. I was like, let me just throw that away and listen to the song, because I don't think it's that much. If you look at the music, it's like it looks crazy. Like everything is like across the bar line, and there's all these like ties and
Yeah.
dotted whatever. It's like, yo, I don't think it's that hard when I'm listening to it. Like, let me just like listen to it. And yeah, that was my first time. I played with Miguel for years, but that's not even really Cuban music. So yeah, I think that was like my first like traditional Cuban gig, because even like the salsa is a little bit different than like what you guys are doing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know, man. Honestly, it's just I don't just check out the recording and just try to catch the vibe. You know,
Well said, because
but
that stuff doesn't write itself out well. It's not very good.
if you try to read, if you're looking at the music, you lost. Like it's already a fail. Like trust me, I can tell that for anybody. Like especially the charts alone, like some of those charts are unreadable. Like you can't even. It's like I think that's just like an inside joke for like salsa gigs. It's like if somebody hands you a chart, you might as well assume that it's pretty much wrong. So like by the time you try to like sit down and analyze and do all of everything else, it's like, bro, it's really only like three chords in like two different sections. So you should be okay. You know what I mean? That's kind of my vibe. I'm just down for whatever, honestly, with music. So I don't know. I just kind of try to approach it like that, and it's always fun that way.
There's
You
it.
know?
Hi.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
good. What's going on?
Are we just three of us?
No,
I have.
Oh, there.
I don't even know. Like I can't even see.
Okay, me neither. I just connected from my phone. I just saw the text last minute, so sorry. Yeah.
cool. Well, let's transition from what I know about your life in Kansas City and how you became an LA producer and how that's different.
Yeah, it's super different. I mean, that's like I said. I kind of always. I've come from a background of like of rap music. You know what I mean? Like I was listening to like Tupac, and I was listening to NWA. I was listening to like Slick Rick. Those were my musical heroes. You know what I mean? Like Sugar Free was my musical DJ Battle Cat, and like people like that, DJ Quick, were my musical heroes kind of growing up. So it's like it's just a different like the lifestyle is a little bit different. So it's like okay, like once I actually started doing music, I like the last thing I ever thought I would do was play the bass, like and just in general, and like find love in actually doing that, and then like do it at like it always amazes me at like the levels at which things progress to. You know what I'm saying? It's like I never thought I would play bass with Herbie Hancock or Robert Glasper. Like it doesn't even like out of all the people, I'm like out of all the people that play bass that like they wake up every morning and they practice and they care the most about it. Like, you know, I was like, dang, out of all the people in the world, like I'm doing this, that's funny to me. But it kind of like was a thing that was always in my mind of like the production element, because I always just thought of music that way. You know, and like producing records was like always a thing that I was super interested in, and like I always did it even before like taking the bass super serious. So sorry, phone's continually going on. Like but 2015 I really kind of started taking music production. I was in Kansas City still at that time, but I started taking the production element a little bit more serious. And the first person that kind of gave me like a shot on the huge stage to like really be a producer of music was Tech Nine. So once I met Tech, it was like, okay, like, you know, Tech is a huge artist and he just happens to be in Kansas City. Like, so it was like kind of one of those things once we kind of like finally connected and he heard my music and was like, yo, bro, this is incredible. Let's work. And then like really quite honestly, like after doing that first song and then seeing the paycheck, I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do this instead, because it's like this only took me like 10 minutes to do and it's like a year's worth of playing gigs. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, I think. So that was kind of like let me take that serious, you know what I mean? And really from there I just kind of like never looked back. And then like being in LA, it just kind of helped, like not even kind of, but it helped propel everything. You know, like now it's like, you know, have 4 studios technically here and like a house and like the whole vibe. It just helped like propel the thing, because like it's the entertainment capital. So you want to do sessions, or you want to make money being a producer or whatever, then you kind of got to like go to the where it's happening, basically. You know what I'm saying? So which just happens to be comfortable too in home. So it's like that was kind of a no-brainer. But that was like really just the transition was like I started really in Kansas City building the chops up, the production chops, because it's a lot easier, but it's super competitive world, because everybody in the world would want to sit at home or just chill and like make beats at their house. You know what I mean? Because like some of these beats, it takes like 5 or 10 minutes. I was just talking to this kid, young Keo, about like almost 2 weeks or something, like right before New Year's. I was talking to him, and Keo is 22, I think, 21 or 22. You know, he just made a beat. It took him like 6 minutes, and it just happened to be the biggest song in the world. It ended up being Old Town Road. You know what I mean? So I think they just went 14 times platinum. So it's like, you know, like it's not something he was thinking hard about. It didn't. wasn't a Mozart sonata or nothing, but it's like it was the biggest song in the world, you know, as a 20-year-old. So it's an interesting business. I think everybody in the world would want to do that. So super competitive. That's what it was like. Let me hone the skills, get the craft of it down like really, really well, and then kind of go and just start making it happen, you know.
So this morning you were telling me that your phone's ringing off the wall because, or you know, off your iPhone because of the time of year it is. And
Yeah, it is.
yeah, give us an idea of just the content your industry generates, like how many songs get produced a day, and why your phone is presently ringing like crazy for your skills.
It's kind of crazy. Like I was just reading a thing, so not necessarily like because the industry is it's a weirder space now because like anybody can put out a song at any time. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be with Atlantic or you don't have to be with Universal Music. You can put out a song. Anybody can. You know, so like globally, they said there's like 60,000 songs that come out a day. You know what I mean? It's a lot of songs.
60,000.
You know, I mean, in the last since 2015, I probably made 2,500, 3,000 songs.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's a long amount of time. But 60,000 songs are coming out a day. So that's kind of crazy, you know. But the thing about like with the time being now is like at least in LA, around a little bit before Christmas, like everybody, like a lot of LA is like a transplant city, so like a lot of people are not from here. You know what I mean? So everybody will leave, go wherever they need to go, and then they'll start coming back around the 5th or the 6th. And once it's like once these like labels like Atlantic just open back up, like I'm working on this kid that's signed to Atlantic now. We like hopefully we'll finish his record. Once they open back up, then it's like off to the races because everybody's trying to generate that summer revenue and that not even really summer, honestly, but like March, April revenue. You know what I mean? And like getting that kickstart off because, and you have to think about too, like the Grammys are in a few days. So like with the Grammys happening, like you have all these artists that even if you, let's say you don't win a Grammy, it's just like, okay, if you're Grammy nominated, you need to like keep that train rolling. Like, you know what I mean? You need something to continue to keep that hype while you're up, even if you don't win the Grammy, you know what I mean? And so it's just the interesting time. Like this is like really the most fun time like in the industry to me because it's like everybody's like open to new ideas, everybody's working on new records, everybody's like just in a very like creative mode, like fresh mode, like not like going in and editing records and trying to finish records, but like, you know, unless they're like almost done, like super, super close to being done. But like it's just an interesting time because like LA is a funny place. Like you might be like, okay, I'm gonna go golfing today. Like that's my plan after this. And I think it'll work, but you never like somebody might call and be like, oh, never mind, no golfing today. I gotta go to the studio because they just called and this is happening. You know, so it's just an interesting time, you know.
I've got a question from Patrick here. He says, have production activities slowed down due to the pandemic, or are artists still recording now and just waiting to decide when to release it?
Nah, business is booming. Not at all. I mean, it's like, if anything, I would say it's got 2 or 3 times more active. There's more music, more TV shows, more films, more everything than ever. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all you can do. Like all you can do is like, you know, sit at home and just look out the window and listen to Spotify or like like watch the same show on Netflix 30 times. You know what I mean? That's all you can do. So it's like content is king more than ever. Content and data. Those are the 2 things that run the world. Content, data. Data number 1. That's some whole other stuff. We're not gonna get to that. But like data is like runs the world and content is like right after that. You know what I mean? So people it kind of started off like everybody was in these Zoom. We were doing like a lot of Zoom sessions when the pandemic was like raging, you know what I mean? Which it still is. But like now it's kind of like people have figured out way. It's like, you know, just like anything else, like once you're in something, it's like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, let's see if like we just start figuring out ways to like make the situation run smooth. You know what I'm saying? And now people got it figured out. We like a year into the pandemic, so it's rocking. You know, and at these labels, like some people are doing a little bit more in person sessions, which are interesting because like, you know, these labels are dishing out millions of dollars for these people to be there, and they'll give you the little finger prick thing, and they'll tell you if you have COVID or not within 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So it's like if you want to go to the studios, that's a thing because they have those people on call and they're like right there, like instantaneous testing. You know what I mean? So yeah, people are figuring it out, and people are just dishing out the money to keep it going because there's more content than ever now. You know.
Patrick also wants to know, are your clients mainly with major labels, or are they independent artists coming to you?
I do both. Like honestly, I will always do. It doesn't for me. Like my person is like, I'll never like never not work with like somebody that's not signed. I'm working with like now, like I'm working with like I said, the kids is on Atlantic and that kind of thing, which obviously like the pay grade is different. You know what I'm saying? Because like a label's paying for everything. They're paying for the studio time. They're paying for everything. You know, they're paying for you. They're paying for all of it. So scale of pay is a little bit different, but I'll still work with independent artists. I always will because it's like, you know, I tell everybody it's, you know, it's dope to work with Beyonce. It's super dope to work with Beyonce. But like even when you're invited into that circle and into that group and it's amazing and you can tell everybody like y'all just did the session with Beyonce, you were not there with Beyonce when Beyonce was not Beyonce. You know what I mean? So it's like you'll never really have that super close personal connection with her because you weren't there. Like I call it in the trenches. You weren't there from the beginning. You know what I mean? You're always invited into the situation. So I always work with like independent artists because it's like that's the whole point. Is like if somebody has talent and they're not getting that talent fulfilled or like people are not seeing that, then me as a producer with the connections and everything, I feel like that's just the responsibility. Like, yo, let's build something so you can be the next Beyonce. And we built it from the ground up. You know what I mean? So yeah, I always rock with independent artists. Like, you know,
Yeah.
even though the budgets are way different, you know, there's always some way to figure out something, you know. But I just think that's important because that's what it's all about, really, you know.
I love it that in my mind you got your bass, you're at the Green Lady, you're playing till 3 a.m. Then you get your check from Tech 9 from your 10 minutes work. And you're like, I'm gonna go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's just the vibe, you know what I mean? And I still play like it's like I said, to me it's just interesting how anybody that plays music that's like doubting themselves or whatever, like even though I never like doubted, it's just like once I started producing, I was cool on playing music. I was like, you know, I don't really need to play. Like I love playing the bass, but I mean, I can play the bass on records. Like it could go either way for me. So I wasn't really tripping. And it's just like, it was interesting. Like the second I started thinking like that, then it was like, I'll never forget. It was like, I just was randomly in Kansas City and like, I had tickets to the show. Like I just got to Kansas City. It was snowing a little bit outside and I had tickets to the show. Not the Midland, I forget, the Folly Theater.
Mhm.
And like I just pulled up my homies, I think Eddie or somebody was like, yo, Robert Glasser's in town. You know what I mean? Like we got to get tickets. I'm like, oh, snap, for real. I just got to Kansas City, bro. I'm like super tired, but whatever, I'll go. The only tickets left are the ones at the very top where you can barely see the people. They look like little insects at the Folly. So I'm like, I'll go. At this point, I was already producing records, so I was playing a little bit of gigs just to keep the chops up, but I wasn't tripping. So it literally, I had bought the tickets. I went to sleep. My phone rang like 20 times in a row, like about this number I didn't recognize. So I'm like, I don't know who this is. Let me pick it up. And this guy's like, yo, this is Vinny. I'm like, okay, what's up, bro? Like, and he's like, yo, are you in Kansas City? Like, please tell me you're in Kansas City right now. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna call you right back. So he like like 5 minutes later, he calls right back. He's like, hey, I need you to play this show tonight. It's Robert Glasper Trio.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm down. He's like, do you know any of the music? I was like, nah, not really. And he's like, all right, well, Rob's not gonna have a chance to rehearse. Just learn it. I'm like, all right, bet. Like, just tell me what songs we're doing. He's like, I don't know what songs we're doing. Just learn the music. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So like, long story short, it went from like boom to there. I didn't care. Like at that point, I was playing basically go either way. It wasn't tripping about it. And that's like a relationship that lasts to this day. Like Robert Glasper ascended into the next level of jazz musicianship. And so now it's like, if I do get to go play shows like jazz shows, it's like with Rob, with Terrace Martin, Keyon Harold, Herbie Hancock. Like, it's like, I never would have thought, you know what I mean? It's just like crazy because there's so many people that I feel like you wake up every morning and that's your goal to do that. But I feel like a lot of times when you let go, you just let stuff happen and just go with the flow. Like, that's when stuff kind of starts happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that seems to be a common thread in your life.
Yeah, just kind of go with it. You know, I mean, you got to know what you kind of want to do, but like the less you kind of like really worry about it, and like, you know, because being a musician, especially if you're a full-time musician, a lot of stuff can just worry you. Just like a lot of worrying, and then we look back on it, it's like, was I really, the stress level that I had for this thing, was that really worth the stress of it? You know what I mean? And a lot of times it's not. So it's like like just like going with the flow of life and with everything, it works. I feel like, you know, the universe has like a little like bumper system where it's like, okay, like whatever, you're gonna do this, like you're already gonna do that anyway. Where it's like, you know, it'll work out. I feel like I'm just a firm believer in that, you know.
I get a Dominique app that tells me that every day. Sounds great.
Nah, bro. Like, I mean, you know the vibe. I've been there. That's the thing. Is like, you know, I can relate. I've been there. You know.
You have. Hey, Danny Powell has a question that's pretty good. After your experience here in Kansas City, and then what are you experiencing now? What is the first thing you see that needs to be done here in KC to elevate industry opportunities for artists? Is it a totally data-driven push? Question.
That's a good question, actually. That's funny. We were talking about that last night, I think. Honestly, like we were literally talking about that. There's an A&R from Atlantic Records who kind of came down. Well, that's what they do, is they come and like they let the artist go, and then it's like they're like, okay, what are you guys working on? Like, I need to hear something. And he was here last night, and we were like talking about that. Yeah, that's a super interesting question. Like, now A&R in 2021 is just starting to go back to like the old school way of like in the trenches looking for talent, somebody that might have like 500 followers, or, you know, not like 1 million followers on Instagram, like people that nobody's ever heard of. And the first really success like story that was like a true A&R situation of that was this kid, I guess it's been 2 years ago now, but Roddy Ricch. So Roddy is the biggest artist in the world. Him and Drake are the biggest artists in the world right now. He had this song, The Box, did 2 billion streams last year. I mean, he's out of here. And his manager, who's this guy named Kiefer, he's from Compton, California, here in LA. So he was hitting every single label. And like, you can, like, it's common knowledge of where these labels are out here in California. So literally people do that. They drive up to the gate, and they'll just sit there, and like they know who the A&Rs are and who everybody is, and they'll just sit at the gate, because you can't, like in California, as long as you're not like trespassing, you can just stand and like do shit. So he's like, he was demos all the time at all these labels. Eventually he got into the door at Atlantic for this kid, this Roddy Ricch kid, who had less than 1,000 followers on Instagram. Nobody knew who he was, nobody cared. And like he got in the door, and he was like playing his music at Atlantic, and whoever the first A&R was, he was like, okay, whatever. Like, what's his analytics? How many followers? He's like, yeah. He's like, okay. And he just kind of gave him the runaround of like, yeah, come back with us, and like, you know, just keep building up your fan. That's just if somebody tells you that, that means that's the easiest run around of being like, we're never going to call you back. You know what I mean? Just like, you know, keep trying, don't give up. That's basically, you know what I'm saying? But it's not going to work here. You know what I mean? And, and like he was playing the music, and this guy Dallas, who ended up, he had just A&R'd Nipsey Hussle, who is somebody that I was like fortunate to work with before he died. And he had brought him onto Atlantic, which was a huge move because Nipsey was like, he was doing everything independently and making millions of dollars. And they ended up doing a label thing with Atlantic when that was a huge deal. And he was just so happened to be walking past, and then he heard this kid, and he was like, "Yo, what is that?" Like he had a knock on the door. The other A&R is like, "I don't know," like, you know. He's like, "Come in my office," heard him. He signed Roddy immediately, and then he's the biggest artist in the world. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that's just coming back. I think with Kansas City, like, it's all about what people want to do too. Like, I feel like that's one thing I had to learn, like, being in KC is like, not everybody wants to be the biggest artist in the world, and that's fine. You know, it's like, that's not like everybody's goal of playing music. That there's nothing wrong with that. I had to learn that. It's like, okay, like maybe there's nothing wrong with it either. People just want to play music. Some people want to just play out and do their thing or whatever. But like, if people are like really wanting to elevate, I just think it's like just really a mentality thing. Just knowing that even if you're not in LA, you don't necessarily have, the internet is a powerful tool, and it's just like the way you market yourself, as long as it's marketed on the same level of whatever kind of music or whatever you do, the highest level of that, as long as when, you know, I forgot who asked the question, like, I forgot his name, but like, as
Danny Powell.
Okay, yeah. So like, like Danny, as long as Danny, whatever you want to do is on the highest level, like I can flip from whoever the highest level person is to Danny's thing, and there's almost, it looks the same and it sounds the same and it has the same vibe, and Danny's energy is like, hey, I'm Danny and I'm the shit and I'm from Kansas City and there's no difference between me and whoever else you already like, then I think that's it, really. You know what I mean? I think it's just like it's really a mentality thing, because you come out here to LA, there's some people that are horrible, but their energy, you're gonna be like, bro, I know you're horrible, but I'm gonna rock with you just because like you are making me believe that you are like the great, like I know in my mind, like I know this is gonna be horrible, but like I'm actually gonna like go with you because you believe that you're the like the illest, you know what I mean? And that's a thing to be said. I learned that it was, you know, like, you know, but real musicians and people that are like really talented, we're kind of like more timid and like relaxed kind of people. That's not really the vibe a lot of time. But if you want to go to the top and be the bet, like there's no way. Like, you know, I've worked with some of the biggest artists in the world. They're personal live people, some of the most chill, relaxed people in the world, but their life is open, it's public. When they're on the stage, you know, Beyonce is not like, oh hey guys, it's B, like, you know, it's like she's out there. Is like, you know what I mean? So that's just the thing. I think it's just a mentality, and you know, go for it, but go for it like you're the already the top of whatever you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
That's great advice. Anyone else have any questions?
Hey, Bo, can I ask? Can I talk?
Go ahead.
Hey, Dominique, thanks so much. And thanks, Bo and Heartland Song Network.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, my question too, sorry, was not about who you would consider working with artists, like whether they're with a major label or a independent label. My question was more like, are you finding independent artists coming to you for production projects? Because like for us, we're a small label here in Kansas City, and we can't afford to record something now and sit on it until the pandemic goes away. You know what I mean? Whereas a major label,
sure.
well, they got money to burn. So they can go gangbusters right now and then sit on those projects until they feel like things are going to change. Because the reason I'm asking you about that, and it's kind of about what you talked about with so many songs being released a day. I heard something like 40,000 on Spotify. You're saying 6. So music out there and so much quality music. How do we find ways to get an artist to to break out, to get their voice heard, especially when we're not from a
Right.
major market like Los Angeles? I'm back to Danny.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, like to the first part of that, like 100%, like more independent artists reach out to me than not. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's like with Instagram and stuff like that. The second that if I post something like a major label release or like a major movie release, then everybody's like, "Hey, bro, like let's work. Like, what do I got to do?" Like, you know what I mean? Because they see that, and then and I honestly I pay attention to every single person, and I'll like shift through. And if something is like dope, I'm with it. I'm like, do this. Where do you live? You live in LA? Then pull up right now. Like this, like we're in the studio right now. Pull up. And people have done that, and it's worked out great. Sometimes not so much. You know what I mean? But that's a good question, and that's the loaded, never-ending question. You know what I mean? Is like, what do you do to break out and like be different from the rest? You know? And I think honestly, this I've thought this for years, and it's always the same thought is what kind of label is it like a specific type of music or what?
Kansas City music. So we're interested in any kind of genre, actually. And I would say
Okay,
Bo knows our artists pretty much are genreless in a lot of ways. So as long as
cool.
it's outstanding musically and you're from
Okay,
Kansas City, then we're down with it.
okay, cool. Yeah, so like I've always thought of I'm in Kansas City in the entire Midwest. Honestly, I've always thought that, especially Kansas City, like I'm kind of leave St. Louis out of it because they've had that. We're still waiting for champion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we have like Tech Nine and we have Janelle. You know, I'm fortunate to like work with Janelle. Janelle's in some other. She's a quasi artist, so she's an actor. She's an artist. She's like a little bit of everything. So it's like she kind of doesn't count. And then Tech is in an interesting position too because Tech is still technically an independent artist. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
not. He like, but making millions of dollars is a very different situation. But like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But technically, he's not in the industry of music. So like, I feel like in all the genres of Kansas City, St. Louis has had their champion. Nelly is St. Louis's champion. Whether you're white, black, whatever, everybody in St. Louis knows Nelly. They've had it. You know, Chicago, we can go over, but like the Midwest, Omaha, Iowa, even Iowa's had their champion, Slipknot, and you know what I mean? It's like, but Kansas, it's like the real kind of like artist or like label even that is like really just the champion of like the city to where, because I feel like all cities are the thing. The second that if your label went outside of somewhere and like let's say that your label started blowing up in like Houston, Texas or something for whatever reason, which is like Houston's a hot city right now for music. Everybody in Kansas City immediately is going to start paying attention. It's like it's not going to be in Kansas City what breaks the label. It's going to be like a little bit outside. So the second that it's the whole like the family. It's a family vibe where it's like your brother. You grow up with your brother, and it's like he's just annoying, and it's like nothing he does is whatever. But if they're like outsider people were starting to be like, yo, your brother is like pretty dope actually at this thing, then you're gonna be like, dang, maybe he is dope. Even though you're around him every day, it's like that he was good at it. It's like actually, damn, somebody else said he was good at it, so maybe he actually is good at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be the thing, like for Kansas City especially, is like it could be any outside. I don't even know. It could be whatever artist, if they can really like break through in a way in another place, then Kansas City is going to follow. And that's an interesting thing because I think Kansas City has a strong enough passion, like we're a passionate city. You know what I mean? And we're passionate for champions. Like if we have somebody that champions us, like just in general in Kansas City, then we go heavy for that. You know what I mean? In all races, everybody loves that champion. It's a city that I think that is dying for that. You can see it with the Royals and the Chiefs and everything else. But like on the music tip, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know like a real. I just can't think of like a real like part where it's like you can say that name and it's like everywhere. Like we're not even talking about specific genre. There's been people that are very specific that have come out of Kansas City that if you're in that world of music, you know that person. But I'm talking about like if you say Nelly, it doesn't matter if you listen to rap or not, you know who that is. Like or you've heard it. It's like, yeah, I've heard Nelly, I've heard some of his songs. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody like that. I don't know. I just think that's going to be the thing. That's easier said than done. I wish there was like a 1+1 answer to that, but I think kind of looking at it like that, and the internet can make it possible, and just really like have whoever those artists are, Kansas City be branded on them like heavily is a thing. Like that always works because like if you look at the biggest artists in the world, like you know where they're from, and that's a large part of why they're the biggest artists. Like you said, Drake, Toronto, like he reps that, he like owns Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's a big part of why they're some of the biggest artists in the world is because of that, like that connection they have with their region and their city, and that makes people go harder for them. You know. So.
I totally agree on everything you said, Dominique, too, and I think just going back to Danny's question, you know, we don't have A&R guys sitting in a hallway next door. So
Yeah.
as an industry, what can we do to bring the attention here to find out about artists like Bo as well and Havila? And I mean, Chris was on here, outstanding artists. I feel like you're so right. Just that one artist that leads the chain. And again, Janelle Monáe, would love for her to take that role, but I associate her with Atlanta, you know. Not
I mean,
KC.
like Janelle. Yeah, Janelle's she's just like everything she does is just like, you know, I work with this artist that she is signed with her, Jidenna, and it's like everything that Janelle, it's just different. Like everything Janelle does is she's very talented at multiple things, genuinely. So like that automatically makes her just a little bit different. But I think honestly, my personal opinion, and like I said, I could be wrong, I don't know, is I just really think like being in LA and kind of seeing the highest level of it, and kind of seeing people that like, you know, they're blowing up on the TikToks and doing all this stuff independently. I just think like it's a presentation and it's an attitude. That's the biggest thing. Like the presentation, having that presentation be where it's like, you got to be honest with yourself too. Like, it's like, okay, when I put my thing on, does it genuinely look like it could go like the next video or the next thing could be you know, whatever, a Luke Bryan song or whoever, a Taylor Swift song or something. Does my thing genuinely sound, not necessarily saying it's the same kind of music, but the quality, does it look like my thing could come on right after that and it wouldn't even be like blink of eye. It's just like, oh, you know, who's this person? I never heard of him, but it looks like I'm supposed to know this person. You know what I mean? And that's important. And then the sheer like quantity of music released. You know what I'm saying? If Drake and Beyonce are releasing more records than you're not working hard enough. You know what I mean? Like especially now, because it's like you should be releasing so much material. Content is king.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give people something to like. Mm-hmm. So if you're releasing one album a year, that's not gonna cut it because like it's for multiple reasons. It's because it's like it's not enough music, and you're gonna get discouraged because you're gonna put so much time into those 12 songs, and you know the quality of those songs are gonna be great because like there's some of the most fantastic musicians in the world, I think, in Kansas City. You know, I tell people that all the time, and you know, you're gonna put so much time and effort into those 12 songs or whatever on that album. And you're gonna put it out, and on that same day you put it out, 60,000 or whatever other songs come out, and you're like, it's just over. Like dang, what happened? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, cool, my album's out. Everybody's like, oh, congratulations! I'll give you a like on Facebook. Everybody's liking it. They're not even listening to it, but they liked it. You know what I mean? It's like because there's so much other stuff. They have so much other stuff going on. It's like, oh, awesome! Like, you know, Dominique put out an album. That's congratulations. You know what I'm saying? And they genuinely mean it. They're not, you know, being mean or nothing. It's just like, how can you fault them? It's just like, I only gave you 12 songs this entire year to listen to, and I expect you to listen to those 12 songs more than you listen to the regular radio, not gonna cut it. Like, because if you see the biggest artists in the world putting out music every other week, that means that you need to be putting out 10 times almost that amount.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there's really no excuse, because you can record at your house. Recording is like, you can figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you want it to be as high quality as you can, but I still think quantity over quality is going to get you where you want to be. Like, you can spend so much time trying to have the most quality thing, and then you don't even end up putting out anything. So it's like, you can't be upset if you're not really putting out content that nobody's not listening to your content that's not even existed in the first place. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
I think, like, yeah, that's a big thing. Like, that's talked about so much. Not even just in Kansas City. It's just like, I kind of learned that. I like firsthand saw the level, you know what I mean, of some of the biggest artists. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, I'm telling you, like, for just making a record as a producer or whatever is like one of the hardest things in the world. Like, if you see anybody that makes a record that comes out on a record label, because these artists nowadays, it's so easy to record a song. They'll have like 600 to 700 legitimate songs that they're trying to choose from to narrow it down to 15.
Okay, looks like Havala's got a question here.
Okay, yep.
Havala, you got to unmute. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. Hey.
Yo.
Hey. How are you doing?
Good. What's up? How you doing?
Good. What do you think about, like, the image and people that have really with gimmicks and, like, just the appearance? Do you think those are are those important? Do you see that those are important for people to get seen, like a Miley Cyrus? Or
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's a good question. That's a super good question. I think depending on what you want to do, then yeah, it's kind of important. Like, if Miley Cyrus is making, songs about twerking and all that, maybe you should, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I think it all just depends on like what you want to do. But at the same time, image is like, it's not super important, because like, that's the beauty. There's 7 billion people on the earth. So like, people's image, there's an image for like every person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even like, I think image has kind of diluted music a lot in the last 40 years. It's become more of a thing. And it's like, I don't think it's necessarily became the thing, but it's definitely become like more of a thing where it's like, oh, okay, this person looks good. Let's just, they can sound like whatever, but let's just put them out, because that, at least like people will click on it because they look good. You know what I mean? Which is a thing. Honestly, I feel like that's always been a thing, but maybe I'm wrong. Like, I mean,
yeah. So then you would say that music videos are key and important to get yourself out there.
Yeah, super important. Even if you, like I say, even there's so many different ways. Like, if you have an iPhone 7 and above, you can shoot a music video on your phone, like, easily. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be like, a blockbuster presentation, just something that people can latch onto, because the more content that people have, that's like the king of everything. And it's like, I tell people every time I come to KC and people ask that, I would just challenge people. Okay, so if you look at it like this, 1,000 people, like 1,000 fans out of the 7 billion people on Earth, if you have like 1,000 true to life fans, where it's like, okay, every time that let's say every time Havala puts out something, 1,000 people are gonna at least click on it, or they're supported in some kind of way. If you do that, you can make $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
There's 7 billion people, like, so it's like there's 1,000 people on the earth that like
and through what platform are you talking about?
They're there, like they're there somewhere on this earth. I promise you. On everything, like there's no like everything, TikTok, even if you're not on there, just like make it, because you never know, like TikTok,
Yeah.
Nickelodeon, like stuff like every like there's, if it's a platform, you should be on it. You know what I mean? At this point, because it's like you don't want to isolate potential people that want to hear your music or want to like be associated with you. Because that's the thing, is like a lot of people, sometimes it's really not even about the music. I feel like people just feel like they'll hear somebody sing, and for whatever reason, they just become attached, like emotionally. They feel like you are basically a voice for them. You know what I mean? And I think that's like a real thing. I think especially with jazz musicians, we see that in a live sense. You know, we have people that come to the show, like you might do a show with Green Lady or wherever, and there's always a couple of people that are just always there. And you might sing the same song. They've heard you sing that song like 30,000 times. It's like you almost feel bad. It's like, dang, I was like, maybe I should sing something. They're like, no, can you sing that same? You sing the same one? Like it's like, yeah. I mean, I guess like you've already heard it with, for sure. Like you want me to like, and if you don't sing that same one that they came to hear every single time, they're gonna be upset, because it's like they could, for whatever reason, they connect on a personal level with that song or with the way you sing that song or something about. It's something there, you know what I mean? And I just feel like, I wouldn't exclude yourself on any platform, you know what I mean? And age, look, none of that matters, because like a look is a look. There's like, you always got to think about it like this. I'm like, there's like, I keep numbers low. Like there's 1,000 people that some way look like me. They might not look exactly like me, but they resemble me in some kind of way, and they can relate to me in some kind of way. There's definitely 1,000 people on this planet that fall into that category. There's 1,000 people that like could relate to your story personally. They might look like you in a certain kind of way, like, or they can look at you and at least see themselves in you. You know what I mean? And there's 100%, there's 1,000 people on the earth that classifying that. You know what I'm saying? So you know, I think that it really doesn't matter. It's just like all about what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? If you're making music that, like, obviously the whole point of the music is like what you look like in a certain kind of way, then maybe it would matter. But you know, it's all about what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Okay, Doc, we're coming up on the hour. I've got about 3 more questions here. It looks. I'll get to you.
Okay.
So from Stacy Bush, she says, do you think it's possible to produce in-home studio and compete? Mastering tracks for radio online streaming often requires tools that are only available in professional studios, even with high-level home studio setups.
100,000%. Like you can produce at your house and compete.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't like for the most. There's so much. I'm an advocate of if it's available financially and physically without like killing yourself, then you go the highest level. You know what I mean? Like where it's just like, you know, you're spending a ton of money. If you can do it, then do that. But you got to think some of the biggest. I keep going back to that. The biggest songs in the world are these little kids doing TikTok dances that they recorded on their iPhone. So does it matter? No. Like there's too much music, and people listen to their music in these little things, like these little airplanes.
Oh, did we lose him?
Hey, sorry, I don't know what happened. Not exactly sure what happened. But anyway, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. People listen to the music in the AirPods and everything else. So you can 100% produce a platinum song on your phone. You know what I'm saying? Like like there's 3 tracks on Kendrick Lamar's last album, Damn, that this kid Steve Lacy did on his iPhone. So you know, it's endless possibilities. If you're worried about mastering, you can't afford it, there's a service. It's called Landr, LANDR. They'll master your song for like $20. Atlantic Records, Universal Records, Sony, they all use this they all use it. So if an artist goes into the studio and they're like, yo, this is a hit record, we want to put it out tomorrow, they'll use Lander. The Sony Records literally will pay $20 to their service to master the song. They'll put it out and make millions of dollars off the song.
Yeah. Okay, so this next one is from Davey. What feeling from music have you seen connect with the listener the most? Like, does music inspire people to become something new, reflect who they are more in your experience? That's a heavy question.
Yeah, that's a super deep question. I think it just depends on, like, it's all situational. Like, I think everything in life is situational. You know what I'm saying? It's like one thing you do in one situation might be totally inappropriate in the same exact other situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's all situational. But I think I just keep going back to like what I call like hit records, like really big records. I think the main thing that people want to do when they listen to music is like kind of forget about all of the things that are going on in their life and like all the problems, and just have that music make them in that moment feel great. You know what I'm saying? I look at music as just like it's sort of like a drug in a way, where it's like you want to take that and for 2 minutes or 3 minutes or however long the song is, you know, feel like happy and like forget about people storming the Capitol and all that. Like, it's like, y'all, for 3 minutes, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about Bo playing the guitar, you know? And as soon as you stop playing the guitar, you go back to thinking about everything else. But the music can take you, I feel like that's really when people can forget about what's going on and be taken away. I feel like that's what most people listen to music for.
Okay, Chris.
What'd you say?
Chris has got.
Okay, I have a question. Habila asked a question about. I'm not sure exactly what she worded it as, but she touched on social media and then touched on like, TikTok. But then you said something about, you have 1,000 people, you can make $100,000 or something like that. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, for sure. So the key to that method is putting out content. So like, let's say you have, and I'll say 1,000 people, like fans, and what I call like fans is something that no matter what you do, they're there. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, like, hey, I got a Bandcamp set up and I'm going to put out a song and I'm going to charge $1.99. So let's just say $2 for this song all the time. You know what I mean? So let's say you do that. And it's like, let's say, I don't like most songs. Let's say I see a guitar in the background. Let's say you do like acoustic guitar. You know what I mean? So like all it takes for you to record is a mic and your voice. You know what I mean? A cool little mix, something like, relatively okay mix. So boom, that's all it takes. You put out 2 songs a month. You know what I mean? At $2 a month. That's $4,000 right there every month. If you're from 1,000 people that really, really support you and like you, you know what I mean? And no matter what you do, they're coming for it. You know what I mean? So boom, that's $4,000 right there. Like off the top, if you just put out 2 songs a month. You know what I'm saying? So boom, you do that, you're already halfway of them out there, like halfway there. So now you say, okay, now I'm gonna do these 2 songs, and I'm gonna say, let's say Drake, he puts out 4 albums a year. So he does them kind of like, you can kind of predict when they're coming. You know what I mean? So let's say I'm gonna do 4 albums a year. So the album, that's gonna have, 10 songs plus the 2 songs that I've already put out, because people love those songs and people don't mind paying for something that they've already heard if they really, really like it. Matter of fact, they'll be upset if you don't put the song that they've heard 1,000,000 times on there. So it's like, okay, let's do that. So like, I'm gonna put out an album, 4 albums. So let's just say you have 10, so that's 40 songs a year. I'm gonna focus on 40 total songs for the entire year. So your album is gonna be 10 songs. So let's say $9.99. That's like, an average. You want to pay $9, round it up to 10. You know what I'm saying? So you do that. You say you're gonna do $10 times the 1,000. You know what I mean? So that's $10,000 right there. Then you want to round that up. You do that 4 more times. You see what I'm saying? Like you're already at like 97, like give or take around that area there. So now if you're legitimately doing that with the fans, now you say, okay, now the rest is what you factor in the miscellaneous. And it's a little bit different now with COVID, but like you factor the rest in the miscellaneous. So it's like, you know what? Okay, now I'm gonna do like a coffee mug, you know, just so I made a song about a coffee mug. Now I'm gonna make an actual coffee mug about the song that I made a coffee mug about, and it'll be funny. And only these 1,000 people will get it, but it's funny and they'll buy it because it's great. So boom, like the coffee mug is $3.99 or whatever. You know what I mean? And so you do that, and then you factor in. You know what? Now I'm gonna make a T-shirt that's super funny, but only people that really listen to this music are gonna get it, and then I'm gonna sell that. And then, mind you haven't done one performance yet. You haven't touched the stage yet. You haven't even, that's not factored in. So by the time you do that, you know what I mean? You're looking, you see how the numbers add up, and that's not a lot of people out of the 7 billion people in the world. You know what I mean? Like I said, the only thing that gets tricky now is with the COVID. But if you really start low and think about it like that, it's like, dang, like how many Facebook friends do you got? Like, you know, do you actually have 1,000 Facebook friends that if you actually message them and said, hey man, like I'm gonna put out a song, it costs less than a double cheeseburger. Do you really like me or no? You know what I mean? like because if you went to the same person and you said, hey bro, like, can I borrow $2? I'm just trying to get a double cheeseburger. I left my wallet, bro. They're probably gonna give you the $2. But why is it different when you say, hey, I just got this song that I spent a year writing, and it's like, ooh, yeah, I don't have $2 for you, bro. You know that, you know what I'm saying? But it's like if you went to him and was like, hey man, you got $2? I'm just trying to get some fries, man. I'm super hungry. Like, oh yeah, no problem. What? Like here's 5. Get a meal. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You can do that. You can do that once a month with people, and they're like, oh, what? Yeah, bro. Matter of fact, make it a large. Here's 10. You know what I mean? So why would it be different for your music that you spent hours and hours on, and all you're asking is the $2 to support it when you know these people would give you $2 for anything else in the world? You know, so it's just really trying to figure that correlation of like how to make that work. But it's like 1,000 people make whatever you do your job and make it like a fairly decent living wage job. If you start small and think about stuff like that, you start at 500 and just scale back the numbers. You know what I mean? It's very doable. Like that's how labels do. They do analytics like that. They start with like 600 people. Then they go from there. You know what I mean? So I don't know what that is, like, you know, 1,000 divided by 7 billion or something. Like, I don't know what percentage that is, but if I had $7 billion, I don't think I'd be really tripping if I lost 1,000.
Yeah, great advice. Well, our time's up with you here. Do you have anything else to add? For me, this was one of our best ones that we've had. I'm so glad I reached out to you, and yeah, it's just all gold nuggets, Dominique. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. No, for sure. This is great. Like this, I learned so much. Honestly, I can't lie. I learned so much information every day. Like, and it's crazy because, like I said, you never know what your day is gonna be. So, you know, you start off doing one thing, and then you end up in the most crazy situation. Like, you end up in Dr. Dre's studio, or you end up with DJ Quick just coming to your house and hanging out. And it's like the information that you learn from those situations and like being is so, it's like it really blow your mind. Like, you know what I mean? When it's like talking to people that they've been there, done it. You know what I mean? And all they want to do is share the information. And I've soaked it up, and like constantly every day. Like, I swear it's like every day, like learning something like incredible that really helps the whole music thing become like a realistic, scalable. Because it sucks to kind of talk about money, because that's not what it's all about. You know what I mean? But I feel like that for Kansas City, that's how we'll elevate. Is like, it's not all about money, but it's a business. So like, let's figure out a way to, you know, like merge them together and do the business, because the more business you do to the outside world, they look at that and say, oh wow, like okay, all of a sudden I like this thing because it looks like it's like it's a business thing, and it's not even looks, it's like ran like a business, and people, we live in everything we do is a business, so it's like that's the only thing people understand. They don't understand anything else. They get up and go to work. They don't want to do it, but they do it anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like everything's a business. So if you present it to people like that, it's not going to be awkward. It's actually going to make total sense because that's what everybody understands, you know?
Certainly.
But, yeah.
Well, yeah, your attitude is really infectious. Okay, well, on behalf of Heartland Song Network, thank you so much, and hope to
Yeah.
meet you again. And yeah, let's go have lunch or a coffee next time. You come back in KC, and we'll hang out with
Man,
Charlie and all of our friends.
hey, that sounds good. I was just in KC. I went to a restaurant for the first time in like 3 months. There's no restaurant. So I mean, kind of, you can't even go in there. So I was like, I felt like I went to like Greece or something. I was like, yo, this is like a actual vacation or something. I'm like eating in a restaurant. This is amazing. So yeah, let's do it.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yep.
Dominique.
Yeah. Hey, see you guys later. Have a good day.
Stay
You
safe.
Thank
too.
you so much. Thank
All
you for the information.
Yeah, man, for sure.